I actually was a political nerd. I was the U of A Campus Club conservative president. When I went to U of A, took economics and political science. I volunteered on campaigns since I was a little kid. Always just loved the art of the possible. That was politics. Ever since then, I actually worked in Ottawa for 8 years in the Harper government for the federal agriculture minister, Jerry Ritz, who was the longest serving cabinet minister in the Harper government. After that, I decided to run provincially in Alberta, won in a by-election in 2018. And then in 2019, and then in the last elections. Always been a political animal and just really love what politics could do, especially to your community and your province and your country. My riding, it means a lot to me. My family were century-plus farmers in the area in Pine Lake in central Alberta. Both sides of my family moved there before Alberta was Alberta. It was still the Northwest Territory. So my mom's side, it was 1893. They moved to central Alberta, and then on my dad's side, it was 1902. So I love just the fact that I feel like a native son in central Alberta, and I love the riding, love Pine Lake. Sylvan Lake, if you get a chance to go there in the summer, is gorgeous. It's a little secret gem, but central Alberta, there's so much productive agriculture land, there's tons of oil and gas, and you can see the mountains. It's almost like the Alberta flag. It's a pretty iconic place in the province. So I was first the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry in the province of Alberta, and now Transportation and Economic Corridors. And what's really neat about this portfolio is the fact that Premier Smith added economic corridors to it. So it's not just a typical transportation minister role. We look at road and bridge projects across the province as economic corridors. And what do they mean to the GDP of the province and the country, and whether it may be forestry mill or an oil and gas operation or agriculture. We look at how much truck traffic and how much royalties and how much economic activity happens on our road networks. And then we want to make sure that the infrastructure is there to keep up with that pace, as well as try to attract new investment and create new jobs in rural Alberta. And with 64,000 lane kilometers across the province, over 5,000 provincial bridges, there's a lot to maintain, but there's also a lot new to build. I love the Oilers. That playoff run was up and down roller coaster. Love watching hockey. I guess I watched probably too much political stuff. Love watching movies. Being out at the farm, that's a good one. And actually, I do love driving. I know as a transportation minister, it might sound a bit of a cliche, but test even to my staff, whenever we're driving on long distances, I want to get behind the wheel more than them. Right now, we're just grain farming. We have peas, oats, canola, wheat, barley, and that's just about 2,000 acres near Pine Lake. The family all kind of pitches in to make sure we can put the crop in and take it off. But I really love wherever I'm working to be able to come home and get into a truck or a tractor, combine or swather to be able to just really work in an office that's covered in glass and you're staring out on your land. That's pretty peaceful and pretty, I would say it's windshield therapy when you get to be working on the farm. The common sense that there is in farming. I think, a lot of people can tell you something and maybe it doesn't, your gut check isn't there to actually believe them. And I think just the laws of nature when you're out farming, whether it's seeing calves being born or watching your crop grow, you know that if you put in hard work, it's going to actually mean something at the end of the day. And there's no magic bullet, there's no quick fix. That goes a long way in kind of the corporate world and the government world to know that you really have to plan and put in hard work to get success. I laugh because I don't want to cry at environmentalists that comes from cities, and especially the ones that try to demonize farmers. Farmers, they live on their land, they make their living, they support their family on the land. And the wild things that these guys can come up with of how we don't have safe farming practices in Canada when you have farmers that love that land like it's part of their family and obviously want to do everything they can to make it better. And when they're raising animals, they do it in the best way possible. So I think that disconnect of how people that think they're environmentalists living in a concrete building on top of more concrete surrounded by pavement, they somehow think they have environmental superiority over people that live and make a living off of nature. So building out Highway 686, essentially from Fort Mac across to Peerless, Trout Lake, and then eventually off to Grand Prairie, cutting across the northern part of the province is so important. And so that's why we want to make sure that we can look at this 200 plus kilometer stretch of new road and obviously connect Fort McMurray and Grand Prairie together, because there's lots of resources in northern Alberta, but there's also lots of communities in there that to be connected by a second artery, a second main road, it does help not just get goods up in their communities, but also on a safety egress side if disasters ever strike. So to have more than just one road in and out of communities in the province, that makes a lot of sense. So we just signed an agreement with the Northwest Territories to look at economic corridors and how we can better align our capital plans across our borders, as well as advocate for nation-building projects, as well as harmonize our transportation regulations. And that was actually built on an agreement we had signed a year ago with Saskatchewan and Manitoba to do pretty much the same thing. So building these kind of agreements or these deals with other jurisdictions in Canada, I think goes a long way of building economic corridors, building out ways in which we can get our products to market here in Alberta, obviously being a landlocked province, and then just providing for more job opportunities, investment across the province. So that's a lot of the fun work and kind of high-level thinking work we get to do in the department as well. Whether it's urban or rural Alberta, is just the affordability crisis hitting folks right now. When they're seeing, if they're having to renew their mortgage or loans, they're seeing their payments sometimes even doubling every month. That hits their budgets hard because they're not making that much more money on their paycheck. So I think the higher cost of living that's brought on by excessive government spending, especially by the federal government, we're seeing the huge expenditure and the doubling of our debt that's happened at the federal level. That's making everything a lot more expensive, and we're not seeing our wages and our paychecks keeping up to that pace. I think we can, and I think obviously changes to the equalization formula would be a change of the Constitution, but I think Alberta can do a better job of selling our non-renewable resource royalties and revenue that we get. We have a $70+ billion budget. We collect about $17 billion in royalties in a year, but yet we spend about $17 billion in transfer payments that goes out in equalization payments to other provinces. And I think if we could do a sell job of, if we got more royalties, you would be getting more equalization dollars. And obviously we should be able to keep this money from our royalties in our province, but I think there could be a better sell job just to get more of a national buy-in to our royalties and our oil and gas sector, to see the benefits that they would get. As well as when you look at the oil sands, there are other provinces that don't allow people to fly in and fly out and to have that money go back to other provinces, whether it's Newfoundland or wherever else. The BC projects don't allow people to fly in, fly out and have that money stay in their home province. So really the oil sands and our oil and gas industry is a Canadian success story. So trying to sell that the stronger our oil and gas sector is here in Alberta, the stronger the country is, and to actually have meaningful examples of what that actually entails for families across the country, that's a better sell job I think we could do here in Alberta. I've always think activists that go against traditional industries, oil and gas in Alberta or agriculture even, I think what happens is you have folks that work in oil and gas and agriculture, they're just busy working. They're going to their job every day and spend their time working hard and helping grow and build an industry and support their families. But yet you have these outside groups that frankly have nothing better to do than to dream up and come up with ways that they can attack a certain industry. And there's lots of it that happens across the world to a whole bunch of other different types of industries. But I do think that because we are getting attacked as our main economies or our main industries are getting attacked, I think everyday workers that work in the industry should do a better job promoting and feeling a sense of pride. I know when I was forestry minister, we looked at kind of a government and an industry promotional project of their forestry industry. There was a national pride in countries like Norway on their forest to know that the lumber that they're producing, the homes that they're building with this lumber is coming from their forest, their country, with guys working there from their country. That type of pride in our industry is something that we need to do a better job instilling in not just Canadians, but around the world, because there is such an awesome and tremendous success story to tell about our oil and gas industry. Well, I'd love to see big projects and big dreams come reality. When I was Agriculture and Forestry Minister, we did almost about $1 billion deal with irrigation districts in southern Alberta. That is eventually, once these new reservoirs and these new pipeline conversions get created from the open canals, we'll see about 200,000 new acres of irrigated land in the province, which will attract tons of different value-added agriculture processing from food manufacturers coming in and setting up shop. And just to be able to feed more families around the world and to produce that much more food is a huge legacy project. And when you look at Highway 686 and twinning of Highway 3 in southern Alberta, there's lots of big projects that I think we can accomplish here in the province, and then try to make allies across the country for other big projects to get our product to markets and to get to Tidewater. When I'm old, sitting on a rocking chair, to see those projects actually to have been built and to see families and people benefit from that work, that'd be a pretty neat legacy project.